Throughout American history, scandals have often exposed the darker side of politics, business, and society. These events, marked by corruption, greed, and malfeasance, have left indelible marks on the nation's conscience, shaping public perception and influencing reforms. Below, we explore some of the biggest scandals in American history, dissecting their origins, impacts, and legacies in much greater detail. The rivalry between Alexander Hamilton, the former Secretary of the Treasury, and Aaron Burr, the sitting vice president, culminated in one of the most infamous political scandals in early American history. Burr challenged Hamilton to a duel after a series of public insults and political disputes, including Hamilton's role in sabotaging Burr's gubernatorial campaign in New York. The duel, held in Weehawken, New Jersey, resulted in Hamilton's death. Hamilton's supporters characterized Burr as a villain, and his political career suffered irreparable damage. Later, Burr's alleged involvement in a conspiracy to create an independent nation in the Western Territories further tarnished his reputation. Although acquitted of treason due to lack of evidence, Burr's schemes underscored the fragility of the young American Republic and the dangers of unchecked ambition. The Petticoat Affair, 1829 to 1831, also known as the Eaton Affair, unfolded during Andrew Jackson's presidency and revolved around the social ostracism of Peggy Eaton, the wife of Jackson's Secretary of War, John Eaton. Peggy's reputation was attacked by the wives of other cabinet members, led by Floride Calhoun, the wife of Vice President John C. Calhoun. The controversy, fueled by accusations of infidelity and impropriety, caused significant tensions within Jackson's administration. Jackson, who sympathized with Peggy due to the attacks on his own late wife, Rachel, defended the Eatons vehemently. The resulting political infighting led to the resignation of nearly all of Jackson's cabinet members, reshaping his administration. The affair highlighted the influence of personal relationships on political dynamics and underscored the role of societal norms in shaping political discourse. While not a scandal in the traditional sense, the forced removal of Native American tribes from their ancestral lands under the Indian Removal Act of 1830 represents a profound moral and humanitarian failure. President Andrew Jackson's policy, enacted through treaties that were often coerced or fraudulent, led to the displacement of tens of thousands of Native Americans, including the Cherokee, Creek, Seminole, Chickasaw, and Choctaw nations. Corruption and mismanagement plagued the relocation process, with contractors profiting at the expense of human lives. The journey, known as the Trail of Tears, was marked by disease, starvation, and exposure, resulting in the deaths of an estimated 4,000 Cherokee alone. This event exposed the U.S. government's prioritization of territorial expansion over human rights and set a precedent for the mistreatment of indigenous populations. The Crédit Mobilier scandal was a major episode of corporate and political corruption during the Gilded Age. Executives of the Union Pacific Railroad created the Crédit Mobilier Construction Company and used it to overcharge the federal government for the construction of the Transcontinental Railroad. The excess profits were distributed as bribes to influential congressmen and even Vice Presidents Schuyler Colfax. The scheme was exposed by investigative journalism and congressional hearings, revealing the extent of corporate greed and political complicity. The scandal led to a significant erosion of public trust in government and underscored the need for reforms to curb corruption in both the public and private sectors. It also highlighted the growing influence of industrial magnates in shaping national policies. The Whiskey Ring Scandal, 1875. During Ulysses S. Grant's presidency, the Whiskey Ring Scandal involved a network of government officials and distillers conspiring to defraud the federal government of millions of dollars in liquor taxes. The scheme relied on falsified records and bribes, implicating members of Grant's administration, including his personal secretary, Orville E. Babcock. Although Grant was not personally involved, his staunch defense of Babcock damaged his reputation. The scandal highlighted the pervasive corruption in federal offices during the Reconstruction era and spurred calls for civil service reform. The aftermath of the scandal, including prosecutions and reforms, illustrated the challenges of combating entrenched corruption within government institutions. The Tammany Hall corruption, mid-19th century. Tammany Hall, the Democratic political machine that dominated New York City politics, became synonymous with corruption under the leadership of figures like William "Boss" Tweed. Tweed and his associates embezzled millions of dollars from public funds through inflated contracts and fraudulent bookkeeping. For example, the construction of the New York County Courthouse, originally estimated to cost $250,000, ended up costing over $13 million due to corruption. Investigative journalists, particularly Thomas Nast, played a crucial role in exposing these schemes through cartoons and articles. Tweed's arrest, trial, and eventual imprisonment marked a turning point in the fight against political corruption and highlighted the power of the press in holding public officials accountable. The Black Friday scandal, also known as the Fisk-Gould scandal, involved an attempt by financiers Jay Gould and James Fisk to corner the gold market. Their scheme relied on manipulating gold prices by bribing government officials, including President Grant's brother-in-law, to limit the release of federal gold reserves. The manipulation caused a dramatic spike in gold prices, followed by a market crash on September 24, 1869, when the government intervened by releasing gold. The fallout devastated investors and the broader economy, exposing the vulnerabilities of financial markets. The scandal underscored the need for regulatory oversight to prevent such speculative schemes and restore public confidence in financial institutions. The Panic of 1893 was one of the most severe economic depressions in American history, triggered by the collapse of major railroad companies due to reckless speculation and fraudulent practices. The crisis led to widespread bankruptcies, unemployment, and social unrest. Allegations of corruption and mismanagement in the railroad industry further exacerbated public anger. Strikes such as the Pullman Strike of 1894 highlighted the growing tensions between labor and management during this period. The crisis underscored the need for regulatory oversight of key industries and contributed to the rise of the progressive movement, which sought to address corporate abuses and economic inequality. The Haymarket Affair, a violent clash between labor activists and police in Chicago, became a symbol of labor unrest and social injustice. The incident began as a peaceful rally advocating for an 8-hour workday, but escalated when a bomb was thrown into the crowd, killing police officers and civilians. In the aftermath, several anarchists were arrested and executed despite scant evidence linking them to the bombing. The affair exposed deep divisions between labor and management and underscored the challenges of balancing workers' rights with public order. It also galvanized the labor movement, making the 8-hour workday a central demand of unions and inspiring future labor activism. The presidential election of 1876 between Rutherford B. Hayes and Samuel J. Tilden was one of the most contentious in U.S. history. Allegations of voter suppression, ballot tampering, and fraud plagued the election. The dispute over electoral votes in several states led to the Compromise of 1877, which awarded the presidency to Hayes in exchange for the withdrawal of federal troops from the South. This compromise effectively ended Reconstruction, allowing the disenfranchisement of African Americans and the establishment of Jim Crow laws. The election demonstrated the fragility of democratic institutions and the far-reaching consequences of political compromise, shaping the nation's racial and political landscape for decades. These early scandals demonstrate that corruption and controversy have been a recurring theme throughout American history. From political rivalries and corporate fraud to systemic injustices, these events have shaped the nation's trajectory. Understanding these scandals not only provides insight into America's past, but also serves as a reminder of the importance of vigilance, accountability, and reform in preserving the integrity of its institutions.